In a bustling upscale boutique where luxury dresses gleamed under soft lighting and the air carried the subtle scent of high-end fabrics, a routine shopping trip turned into a nightmare of hidden biases and escalating tension, all beginning with a young black girl's innocent quest to surprise her mother. The white manager, her voice sharp and unwavering, clutched her phone as she dialed emergency services, her eyes fixed on the teenager with unfounded suspicion, claiming there was trouble brewing that demanded immediate intervention, though the truth was far from her fabricated narrative. Little did she know, this moment would unravel her carefully constructed world, exposing the deep-seated prejudices she masked as professional vigilance. Madison, a bright-eyed 4-year-old with a heart full of devotion, had entered the store with nothing but excitement, her small purse heavy with $450 meticulously saved from months of allowance, each dollar a testament to her love for her single mother, who had taught her the values of kindness, respect, and perseverance through life's challenges. Raised in a home where hard work was celebrated and empathy was the foundation, Madison had spent weeks researching the ideal gift online, envisioning an elegant garment that would make her mom feel cherished on her special day, a milestone birthday that deserved something extraordinary. With no prior experience shopping alone in such a sophisticated venue, she stepped through the glass doors of the boutique, her neat outfit and polite demeanor reflecting the upbringing that emphasized dignity in every interaction, unaware that her presence would trigger a chain of events rooted in unspoken assumptions. The boutique itself was a haven of refinement, racks lined with shimmering silks and tailored designs starting at prices that spoke of exclusivity, a place where customers were meant to feel elevated, yet for some, it became a stage for exclusion. Karen, the 4-5-year-old manager who had held her position for several years, saw herself as the steadfast protector of this refined space, her role not just to manage inventory but to curate who belonged within its walls, her judgments often veiled in policies that she enforced selectively, drawing from a well of preconceived notions that she rarely questioned. To her, maintaining the store's reputation meant discerning between those who fit the image and those who didn't, a mindset that had gone unchallenged in her daily routine, allowing her to operate with a sense of unchallenged authority. Just moments before Madison's arrival, Karen had welcomed a white woman in her 30s, accompanied by her teenage daughter with open arms, her tone warm and inviting as she greeted them at the entrance, inquiring about their needs with genuine enthusiasm, guiding them to the latest arrivals, suggesting complimentary accessories, and even offering chilled water to enhance their experience, her smiles and attentiveness transforming the visit into a personalized affair. The contrast was stark when Madison approached the counter, her smile tentative yet hopeful, waiting patiently for acknowledgement that never came, as Karen busied herself with paperwork, her glance upward brief and laced with dismissal, pointing vaguely to the dress section without a word of welcome or assistance, leaving the girl to navigate alone in an environment that suddenly felt unwelcoming. Madison, drawing on the lessons of grace her mother had instilled, chose not to react with frustration but with determination, thanking the manager softly and proceeding to browse, her fingers lightly tracing the fabrics to assess quality without disturbance. Handling each item with the care one might reserve for delicate heirlooms, her focus solely on finding something special that captured elegance and warmth. Yet, from the corner of her eye, she sensed the shadow of scrutiny as Karen began to trail her at a distance, her steps deliberate, eyes narrowing with each rack Madison paused at, the unspoken accusation hanging in the air like an invisible barrier. Ashley, the sales associate positioned near the fitting rooms, observed this unfolding dynamic with a growing unease in her stomach, having witnessed similar patterns before where certain shoppers received scrutiny while others enjoyed freedom, her own position precarious under Karen's strict oversight that discouraged any deviation from the manager's lead, leaving her torn between intervention and the fear of repercussions for her livelihood. Meanwhile, a 16-year-old white customer named Emma, browsing nearby with her mother's approval for a special occasion outfit, noticed the disparity, her own experience marked by Karen's helpful suggestions and accommodating gestures, from fetching different sizes to recommending matching items, a service that stood in sharp relief to the cold shoulder extended to the younger girl, prompting Emma to quietly pull out her phone, sensing something amiss in the atmosphere. As Madison selected a stunning blue piece to check its tag, Karen materialized beside her, her voice clipped with warning about the item's value and the need for careful handling, implying it was beyond the girl's means or intent, a comment that stung but which Madison met with composure, politely inquiring about the cost and affirming her interest, only to be met with further skepticism that escalated into insinuations about affordability. Undeterred, Madison continued her search, her resolve fueled by visions of her mother's joy, yet the persistent hovering and intermittent remarks chipped away at her confidence, each interaction underscoring a judgment that had nothing to do with her actions and everything to do with appearances she couldn't change. Karen's internal justifications framed her vigilance as necessary protection for the business, rationalizing the differential treatment as intuition honed from experience, though deep down it stemmed from biases she had never confronted, allowing her to question Madison's presence while extending courtesy to those who matched her expectations. The tension built subtly, with Madison's polite responses clashing against Karen's increasing hostility, culminating in a moment where the girl presented her saved funds to prove her legitimacy, only for Karen to challenge its source with outright disbelief, her tone accusatory and her stance unyielding, pushing the encounter toward a breaking point where assumptions threatened to override reality, setting the stage for a confrontation that would expose the unseen prejudices lurking beneath the surface of everyday interactions. As the boutique's atmosphere grew thicker with unspoken conflict, Madison's determination to honor her mother clashed with the barriers erected by prejudice, her every move scrutinized while others shopped freely, highlighting the quiet injustices that persist in spaces meant for all. Her innocence a stark counter to the manager's guarded domain. Emma, now fully aware of the unfolding disparity, discreetly captured snippets on her device, her sense of fairness stirred by the evident unfairness, while Ashley wrestled with her conscience, the internal debate raging as she considered the impact on the young shopper who deserved better. Karen, convinced of her righteousness, intensified her oversight, her comments veering into territory that questioned not just Madison's intent but her right to be there, each word a brick in the wall of exclusion she was building, oblivious to the storm it would unleash. Madison, drawing strength from thoughts of her mother's sacrifices, pressed on, selecting another option with care, her handling impeccable, yet met with warnings that echoed the initial chill, the pattern repeating in a cycle that wore on her spirit but failed to break it, her politeness a shield against the mounting pressure. The boutique, once a place of potential joy, transformed into a battleground of subtle aggressions, where one girl's quest for a simple gift revealed the deeper divides that linger in society, unchallenged until they erupt. As the escalation neared its peak, with Karen's suspicions boiling over into direct confrontation, Madison's quiet dignity stood as a beacon, her mission undeterred despite the obstacles, foreshadowing a twist that would turn the tables in ways no one could anticipate. The unseen prejudice finally poised to be brought into the light. The air in the store thickened with tension as Karen's voice rose in accusation, her claims baseless yet delivered with conviction, Madison's response measured and truthful, offering proof that was dismissed out of hand, the injustice palpable to those watching, setting hearts racing with anticipation of what was to come. Ashley's regret deepened, her silence a weight she could no longer bear easily, while Emma's recording captured the raw disparity, a silent witness to the unfolding drama. Karen, emboldened by her position, pushed further, her words laced with implications that cut deep, Madison's eyes welling but her voice steady, affirming her honesty in the face of doubt, the clash highlighting the everyday struggles hidden in plain sight. The boutique's elegance belied the ugliness brewing within, a microcosm of broader issues where bias masquerades as caution. Madison's experience a poignant reminder of the need for change, her perseverance a quiet rebellion against the status quo. As the confrontation intensified, with Karen's demands growing more insistent, Madison's resolve held firm, her thoughts on her mother's upcoming celebration anchoring her, the scene ripe for the intervention that would shatter the illusions of power and expose the truth beneath. The narrative of this ordinary day turned extraordinary, woven with threads of love, prejudice, and unyielding spirit, each moment building toward the revelation that would redefine everything, the unseen prejudice no longer able to hide in the shadows of assumption. Madison's journey through the racks became a metaphor for navigating life's unfair hurdles, her grace under fire inspiring even in the midst of adversity, the supporting cast of observers adding layers to the unfolding story, their internal monologues enriching the tapestry of human experience in the face of division. Karen's worldview, narrow and unexamined, clashed against Madison's open-hearted pursuit, the friction generating sparks that would ignite a larger fire. The boutique, a stage for a lesson in empathy long overdue. As the peak of tension approached, with accusations flying and defenses mounting, the essence of character shone through. Madison's innocence, a light piercing the gloom of bias, setting the foundation for a turnaround that promised justice and renewal. The chapter of unseen prejudice drew to its close, the build-up complete, leaving the reader on the edge, eager for the storm to break and truth to prevail. In the quiet moments between exchanges, the weight of societal issues pressed down, Madison's small frame carrying the burden of larger injustices, her story a call to awareness in a world too often blind to such disparities. The narrative flowed with the rhythm of escalating conflict, each detail painting a vivid picture of the human cost of prejudice, preparing the ground for the empowerment to follow. The boutique's mirrors reflected not just outfits, but the reflections of souls tested. Madison's reflection one of quiet strength, Karen's one of misguided certainty, the contrast stark and telling. As the final accusation hung in the air, the stage was set for the arrival that would change everything, the unseen prejudice about to be seen, confronted, and ultimately dismantled. The story's heart beat with the pulse of real-life struggles, Madison's experience a mirror to countless others, her journey a beacon of hope amid the darkness of discrimination. The chapter concluded on the precipice, the call to authorities looming, the twist awaiting its moment to unfold. The narrative rich with emotion and insight into the human condition. As the boutique's atmosphere simmered with the aftermath of Karen's unfounded call to authorities, the focus shifted across town to a sleek boardroom where Michelle, the poised CEO in her tailored suit, commanded attention amid projections of multi-million-dollar expansions and investor scrutiny, her presentation flowing with the confidence of someone who had built an empire from sheer determination, only to be shattered by a vibration from her silenced phone that signaled an unthinkable crisis involving her beloved daughter. The message flashed like a warning. Urgent pleas from Madison detailing the ordeal, words that pierced through Michelle's professional facade, transforming her from executive to a mother fueled by protective instinct, her heart racing as she absorbed the details of false accusations and impending detention, prompting her to abruptly end the meeting despite protests from a skeptical board member who saw it as a vulnerability to exploit. With composure cracking but resolve hardening, Michelle mobilized her network in a flurry of calls, first to her trusted lawyer who promised immediate action, then to a therapist experienced in youth trauma to ensure emotional support was ready, and finally to a high-ranking official in law enforcement whose familiarity with her philanthropy guaranteed swift intervention, each conversation laced with urgency, as she demanded facts and accountability, her voice steady yet edged with the fury of a parent wronged. Barreling through city streets in her luxury vehicle, tires gripping the pavement as she navigated traffic with calculated risks, Michelle's mind raced through scenarios of what her daughter was enduring, the isolation, the fear, the injustice of being judged before being known, her grip on the wheel tightening with every red light that delayed her, while incoming updates from allies painted a picture of growing chaos at the scene, whispers of media involvement and public outcry beginning to form. En route, she coordinated with a close confidant in community advocacy, ensuring that if bias was at play, it would be documented and challenged on a broader scale. Her strategic thinking, blending personal anguish with professional acumen, turning potential despair into a plan for reckoning. Upon arrival, the site buzzed with disorder, a gathering of onlookers murmuring in speculation, news vans pulling up with cameras ready to capture the unfolding drama, the air thick with tension as uniformed personnel maintained order amid flashing lights that cast erratic shadows on the boutique's facade. The officer on duty, already harboring doubts about the validity of the claims after interacting with Madison's composed demeanor, felt a shift in the atmosphere as questions arose from bystanders about the fairness of the response. His radio crackling with directives from superiors alerted to the high-profile nature of the incident, prompting him to reconsider his initial compliance with the manager's narrative. Inside, the sales associate, tormented by regret over her earlier silence, finally found her footing, her conscience overriding fear of reprisal as she discreetly prepared evidence of the biased treatment, her hands steadying as she recalled the day's events in vivid detail, ready to step forward when the moment demanded truth. The crowd parted instinctively as Michelle's vehicle screeched to a halt, her emergence a commanding presence that drew all eyes, striding forward with purpose, her allies converging in support, as the therapist assessing from afar, while the legal expert documented every detail, creating a united front that amplified the gravity of the situation. Karen, still clinging to her version of events from within the store, peered out with a mix of defiance and unease, unaware that the approaching figure was not just any concerned guardian but the architect of the very enterprise she claimed to protect, her smugness beginning to falter as whispers of the woman's identity rippled through the onlookers. Michelle's first glimpse of her daughter, confined and distressed, ignited a surge of emotion she channeled into direct confrontation, demanding release and explanations with an authority that made the officer pause, his earlier assumptions crumbling under the weight of new revelations. As identities were verified and credentials presented, Karen's world tilted, her shock palpable as the pieces connected, the CEO's business card a damning link that exposed her misjudgments, her face paling in realization that her actions had targeted the offspring of her ultimate superior. Initial reviews of available records and witness accounts began to unfold, with the officer facilitating access to preliminary details that contradicted Karen's claims, snippets of footage hinting at the absence of wrongdoing, building a case that peeled back layers of deception. The therapist, now at Madison's side, offered gentle reassurance, noting signs of stress but affirming the girl's strength. While Michelle's gaze locked onto Karen with unyielding intensity, the air charged with the promise of accountability as truths emerged one by one, the storm of arrival giving way to the thunder of exposure. Allies exchanged glances, their coordinated efforts ensuring no detail was overlooked, the legal mind noting potential violations for future pursuit, the scene a whirlwind of activity that centered on justice taking shape. Onlookers, drawn by the spectacle, began to voice support, their murmurs turning to calls for fairness, amplifying the moment's significance beyond the immediate parties. Karen's attempts at justification faltered under scrutiny, her earlier certainty dissolving as inconsistencies mounted, the officer's demeanor shifting from enforcement to mediation in light of the escalating implications. Michelle, drawing on her experience in high-stakes negotiations, directed the flow of information, insisting on transparency that revealed the baseless nature of the detainment, her protective stance a shield for her daughter who, despite the ordeal, showed glimpses of relief in her mother's presence. The boutique, once a symbol of exclusivity, now stood as a backdrop to this pivotal unraveling, its polished interior contrasting the raw emotions playing out, the arrival not just physical but a catalyst for dismantling illusions. As preliminary evidence surfaced, including accounts from neutral parties like the young shopper who had observed the disparity, the narrative of events clarified, painting a picture of systemic flaws exposed in real time, the storm's peak delivering clarity amid the chaos. The therapist's quiet interventions provided grounding, her expertise a counterbalance to the heightened tensions, while the legal presence ensured protocols were followed, preventing further missteps. Michelle's network, activated in full, brought additional resources, from community leaders arriving to offer solidarity to media capturing the essence for wider dissemination, turning a personal crisis into a public dialogue. Karen, cornered by the mounting proof, felt the ground shift, her authority evaporating as her superior's identity solidified, the shockwave of the reveal rippling through all present. The officer, now fully apprised, initiated steps to rectify, his communications with headquarters underscoring the urgency, the scene a convergence of paths leading to resolution. Madison's quiet strength shone through brief interactions, her trust in her mother unwavering, the bond a anchor in the turmoil. As the initial layers peeled away, exposing the core of the misunderstanding, the storm's energy focused on restoration, the arrival marking the turning point where shadows of doubt gave way to the light of truth, setting the foundation for healing and change. The crowd's energy evolved from curiosity to empathy, their presence a collective witness to the unfolding justice, the boutique's doors now portals to a larger conversation on equity. Michelle's strategic mind, even in distress, orchestrated the next moves, ensuring her daughter's well-being remained paramount while addressing the broader implications, the chapter of arrival a bridge to accountability. The therapist's assessments provided immediate comfort, her words a balm for the emotional wounds, while the legal framework began to outline paths forward, the storm not destructive but transformative in its force. As revelations stacked, Karen's facade crumbled further, her regrets surfacing too late, the scene a masterclass in the consequences of unchecked assumptions. The officer's remorse became evident in his cooperative stance, his role shifting to facilitator of amends. The arrival's impact resonating deeply. Madison, freed from immediate threat, drew closer to her allies, her ordeal nearing its pivot, the storm's arrival a harbinger of empowerment to come. The narrative pulsed with the rhythm of unfolding drama, each element contributing to a tapestry of human experience, the chapter rich with the dynamics of confrontation and the promise of vindication. As the dust settled from the dramatic revelations and immediate confrontations at the boutique, the focus turned toward forging a lasting legacy of strength, where the pain of one family's ordeal blossomed into widespread initiatives that empowered communities, sparked creative expressions of solidarity, and reshaped policies to foster equity in everyday spaces, ensuring that the echoes of injustice evolved into harmonies of progress and hope for future generations. In the weeks following the incident, media outlets across the nation amplified the story, turning it into a catalyst for conversations on fairness in retail environments, with documentaries and podcasts delving into similar experiences shared by individuals from diverse backgrounds, their voices weaving a tapestry of shared resilience that inspired online campaigns where people posted their own tales of overcoming bias, using hashtags that trended globally and connected strangers in virtual support networks. Michelle, leveraging her position as a leader in the fashion industry, partnered with educational organizations to launch workshops in schools, teaching young students about recognizing and challenging subtle discriminations through interactive role-playing and art projects, where participants created murals depicting unity and understanding, these sessions not only healing participants but also equipping them with tools to advocate for themselves and others in real-world scenarios. The boutique itself underwent a transformation, reopening with a community event that featured local artists showcasing designs inspired by themes of inclusion. The new staff trained in empathy-driven service models that emphasized welcoming all patrons equally, turning the once divisive space into a model of positive change where shoppers of every background felt valued. Their feedback actively sought through digital surveys that informed ongoing improvements. Madison, emerging from therapy sessions with renewed confidence, became an unwitting ambassador for youth empowerment, speaking at virtual forums where she shared how turning adversity into action had helped her grow, her words motivating peers to start school clubs focused on cultural exchange programs, exchanging letters and virtual meetups with students from different regions to build bridges of friendship and awareness. Corporate allies joined the movement, with other companies adopting similar training protocols, forming alliances that pooled resources for nationwide seminars on ethical business practices, these collaborations resulting in toolkits distributed to small businesses, complete with guides on creating inclusive atmospheres that boosted customer loyalty and community ties. Creative outlets flourished as filmmakers produced short films based on the event, entering festivals where they won awards for storytelling that highlighted personal growth amid challenges. The screenings followed by panel discussions that drew crowds eager to discuss solutions, fostering a culture of proactive engagement rather than passive observation. Policy influencers took note, advocating for updates to consumer protection laws that included clauses on equal treatment in commercial settings, lobbying efforts that gained traction through petitions signed by thousands, leading to hearings where experts testified on the economic benefits of diverse and fair marketplaces. Madison's Foundation, dedicated to supporting young talents facing barriers, awarded its first grants to aspiring designers from underrepresented groups, providing mentorship programs where recipients collaborated on collections that celebrated heritage and innovation, their works displayed in pop-up exhibits that traveled to various cities, drawing attention to emerging voices and generating funds for further expansions. Celebratory milestones marked the journey, such as a family gathering where Michelle and Madison hosted a benefit dinner, guests from various walks of life sharing stories of triumph, the evening filled with performances by musicians who composed songs about standing strong, the proceeds benefiting local nonprofits focused on youth development. Educational reforms extended to online platforms, with courses developed on digital literacy that included modules on navigating social biases, enrolled by educators who integrated them into curricula, empowering students to critically analyze media representations and advocate for accurate portrayals. Community gardens sprang up as symbolic projects, where participants planted seeds representing growth beyond adversity, these spaces becoming hubs for workshops on personal development, blending horticulture with life skills training that built confidence in young attendees. International echoes emerged as the story crossed borders through translated articles, inspiring similar initiatives in other countries where activists adapted the model to local contexts, forming global networks that exchanged best practices via virtual conferences, amplifying the message that change starts locally but resonates universally. Michelle's enterprise expanded its outreach, launching a line of apparel with messages of unity embroidered subtly, sales donating portions to scholarship funds, the designs worn by influencers who promoted the cause on social channels, creating a fashion movement that blended style with substance. Youth-led podcasts interviewed figures like Madison, their episodes downloaded by listeners seeking inspiration, the discussions covering topics from self-advocacy to building supportive communities, fostering a generation equipped to lead with compassion. Legal advancements followed, with precedents set in cases referencing the incident, judges citing it in rulings that strengthened protections against unfounded claims, contributing to a safer environment for all. Artistic collaborations thrived, with theater groups staging plays that dramatized paths to reconciliation, performances touring schools and community centers, and engaging audiences in post-show dialogues that sparked local actions. Economic impacts rippled outward, as businesses adopting inclusive policies reported increased patronage and employee satisfaction, case studies shared in industry journals that encouraged widespread adoption, proving that equity was not just moral but profitable. Madison's personal growth shone in her involvement with mentorship circles, guiding younger peers through challenges. Her experiences shared in essays that won contests and were published in youth magazines, inspiring readers to pursue their passions undeterred. The foundation evolved, partnering with tech firms to develop apps for reporting and resolving incidents discreetly, user-friendly interfaces that connected individuals with resources, downloads surging as awareness grew. Festive events celebrated milestones, like annual galas honoring advocates, where speeches highlighted progress and set goals for the future. Networking opportunities leading to new alliances. Scholarly works analyzed the event's influence, papers presented at conferences exploring psychological and societal effects, contributing to academic discourse on social dynamics. Community libraries curated sections on related topics, hosting reading circles that discussed literature on resilience, participants leaving with renewed perspectives. Environmental ties emerged in projects linking empowerment to sustainable practices, like workshops on eco-friendly crafting that built skills and self-esteem. The legacy extended to sports, with teams adopting anti-bias pledges, uniforms bearing subtle symbols of unity that promoted team spirit beyond competition. Virtual reality experiences simulated scenarios for training purposes, immersing users in empathetic viewpoints that enhanced understanding. Culinary collaborations hosted dinners where diverse groups shared meals and stories, breaking bread as a metaphor for breaking barriers. Musical compilations curated tracks on themes of strength, proceeds aiding causes. Playlists shared widely to spread the vibe. Literary festivals featured authors drawing from similar narratives, panels discussing representation in media. Gaming developers created educational games teaching conflict resolution, levels designed around real-inspired challenges that engaged young players. Architectural firms redesigned public spaces for inclusivity, inspired by the call for welcoming environments. Fitness programs incorporated mindfulness sessions focused on building inner fortitude, classes filled with participants seeking balance. Travel initiatives organized trips to cultural sites, broadening horizons and fostering appreciation. The waves continued, each initiative building on the last, creating a mosaic of positive change that honored the original spark while looking ahead to a brighter, more united tomorrow. As communities embraced these efforts, the story's impact endured, a reminder that from one act of courage springs a multitude of transformations, the legacy of strength, an ongoing journey of uplift and connection.